Imagine for a moment, dear friends, the notion of heaven that you hold close to your heart. How often have we been comforted by the idea of a celestial home, a sanctuary beyond the mortal coil, filled with peace and eternal joy? Yet one must ponder the truth about heaven, what your pastor never told you. Have we truly grasped the entirety of this profound mystery, or is there more that remains hidden, awaiting revelation? In the journey that we embark upon today, we will peel back the layers of long-held beliefs and uncover surprising and counterintuitive truths about heaven that challenge traditional perspectives. Much like peeling an onion, the layers of our understanding can make us weep, yet also reveal the essence within. What if the heaven we envision is but a shadow of a greater reality, a mere whisper of the true song? Together, we will explore these depths, pushing past the surface to see what lies beneath. Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? John 14, 1-2. These words of Christ are not merely a promise of comfort. They are a declaration of divine architecture, a revelation of the expanse of God's kingdom. Imagine a house with many rooms, a dwelling of infinite hospitality and boundless love. It beckons us to ask, what manner of place is being prepared for us, and how can our earthly minds even begin to comprehend its magnitude? In this video, we will delve into the hidden truths about heaven, exposing lesser-known facts and debunking common misconceptions. We live in a time where the promise of heaven is often diluted by the mundane and the material. Our task is to ascend beyond these earthly confines and catch a glimpse of the divine, as if climbing a mountain to see a horizon that stretches far beyond our immediate sight. Our exploration will begin with the bedrock of our faith, the biblical descriptions of heaven. We shall read the scriptures not as mere texts, but as windows into eternity, offering visions that have guided believers for millennia. From there, we will traverse the corridors of history, examining how theologians and scholars of the early church, as well as the medieval and Renaissance periods, have interpreted these sacred promises. Next, we will navigate the vast seas of cultural and mythological contexts, comparing the Christian concept of heaven with those of other world religions. We will explore how these beliefs shape and reflect the human yearning for something greater, something eternal. Finally, we will address modern views and interpretations, understanding how contemporary theology and philosophical debates have continued to shape and sometimes challenge our traditional views of heaven. Join me as we embark on this quest not merely to learn, but to be transformed by the truth about heaven, a truth that your pastor may have never told you. Let us prepare our hearts and minds for a journey of revelation and wonder, of seeking and finding, of questioning and believing. In the majestic tapestry of revelation, we find a vision that transcends the ordinary and beckons us to ponder the extraordinary. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. Revelation 21:1. This declaration is not merely a statement of change, but a profound invitation to contemplate the renewal of all things. The imagery here is vivid and evocative, stirring within us a yearning for the new creation that lies beyond our current understanding. The concept of a new heaven and a new earth is a promise of ultimate restoration, a return to an Edenic state unmarred by sin and suffering. It speaks to the human longing for redemption and the hope that in the end all things will be made right. This vision is not only eschatological but also deeply personal, as it assures each believer that their ultimate destination is a place of perfect harmony and divine presence. The Bible is replete with rich descriptions of heaven, each passage adding a brushstroke to the grand picture of our eternal home. Consider the scene painted in Revelation 21:2-4. I saw the holy city, the New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away." This imagery of the New Jerusalem descending like a bride adorned for her husband is both intimate and majestic. It conveys the idea of heaven as a place of profound beauty and joy, where God himself resides among his people. The promise that he will wipe away every tear and abolish death, mourning, crying, and pain encapsulates the ultimate comfort and peace that heaven offers. These descriptions are not merely poetic. They are foundational to our hope and faith. In Isaiah 65:17-19, we encounter another glimpse of heaven. "See, I will create new heavens and a new earth. The former things will not be remembered, nor will they come to mind. But be glad and rejoice forever in what I will create. For I will create Jerusalem to be a delight and its people a joy. I will rejoice over Jerusalem and take delight in my people. The sound of weeping and of crying will be heard in it no more." Here, the emphasis is on the transformative nature of God's new creation, where former sorrows and pains are forgotten, replaced by everlasting joy and delight. The vision of Jerusalem as a place of delight and joy reflects God's deep love and commitment to his people, promising a future filled with his presence and blessing. The promises of heavenly rewards are woven throughout the New Testament, each one a testament to the generosity and justice of God. In Matthew 5:12, Jesus encourages his followers with these words, "Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." This assurance of a great reward is not only a comfort in times of persecution, but also a reminder that our earthly sufferings are not in vain. They are seen, remembered, and rewarded by our Father in heaven. Similarly, in Revelation 22:12, Jesus declares, "Look, I am coming soon. My reward is with me, and I will give to each person according to what they have done." This promise of a personalized reward underscores the fairness and justice of God's kingdom, where each person is recognized and rewarded for their faithfulness and deeds. The Apostle Paul, in his letter to the Philippians, speaks of the crown of righteousness, reserved for those who long for Christ's appearing. "Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day, and not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing." 2 Timothy 4:8. This imagery of a crown signifies honor, victory, and the fulfillment of our deepest hopes and desires. In 1 Peter 5:4, the promise of the crown of glory that will never fade away is extended to those who shepherd God's flock faithfully. This eternal crown is a symbol of the everlasting honor and glory that await those who serve the Lord with diligence and love. As we reflect on these scriptural references and promises, we are invited to lift our eyes from the temporal to the eternal, from the struggles of this world to the glory that awaits us in heaven. These descriptions are not merely for our intellectual assent, but are meant to stir our hearts, inspire our faith, and strengthen our hope as we journey toward our heavenly home. To understand the concept of heaven as envisioned by the early Christians, one must delve into the rich tapestry of theological thought that emerged in the nascent days of the Church. The early Christians, steeped in Jewish tradition and influenced by Greco-Roman culture, approached the concept of heaven with a sense of profound reverence and awe. For them, heaven was not merely a distant realm, but the ultimate fulfillment of God's promises, a place where the divine and the mortal would finally meet in perfect harmony. Consider the writings of St. Augustine, one of the most influential theologians of the early Church. In his seminal work, The City of God, Augustine paints a picture of heaven that is both transcendent and deeply personal. He speaks of heaven as the city of God, a realm where the saints reside in eternal bliss, free from the trials and tribulations of earthly life. Augustine's vision is one of a place where the soul finds its true home, a return to the divine source from which it came. In his Confessions, Augustine reflects on the yearning for heaven that resides in every human heart. Thou hast made us for thyself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until they find their rest in thee. This restless yearning, this deep-seated desire for communion with the divine, is a central theme in early Christian thought. Heaven, for the early Christians, was the ultimate destination of this journey, the place where all restlessness would cease and the soul would find its eternal home. The early church fathers, such as Origen, Tertullian, and Cyprian, provided extensive writings that offer insights into the early Christian understanding of heaven. Origen, in his De Principiis, speaks of the soul's ascent to heaven as a journey of purification and enlightenment. He envisions heaven as a state of perfect knowledge and communion with God, a place where the soul, having shed the impurities of the flesh, attains a state of divine illumination. Tertullian, in his De Spectaculis, contrasts the ephemeral pleasures of earthly spectacles with the eternal joys of heaven. He describes heaven as a place of unending delight, where the faithful are rewarded with the beatific vision of God. For Tertullian, the allure of heaven far surpasses any earthly pleasure, offering a joy that is both infinite and eternal. Cyprian, in his De Mortalitate, writes during a time of great suffering and persecution, offering comfort to his fellow Christians by reminding them of the eternal reward that awaits in heaven. He speaks of heaven as a place of eternal peace and joy, a refuge from the sufferings of the world. Cyprian's writings reflect the early Christian hope in the face of adversity, a hope anchored in the promise of heavenly glory. The early church was not without its debates and discussions regarding the nature and existence of heaven. These theological debates were often marked by intense scrutiny and passionate discourse, reflecting the profound importance of the subject. One of the central debates concerned the nature of the resurrection and the state of the resurrected body. The Apostle Paul, in his letters to the Corinthians, speaks of the resurrection body as a spiritual body, 1 Corinthians 15:44, a concept that sparked much discussion among early theologians. How could a body be both physical and spiritual? Would the resurrected body retain its earthly form, or would it be transformed into something entirely new? Origen, in his De Principiis, posited that the resurrected body would be a transformed, glorified body, free from the limitations of earthly flesh. This view was met with some resistance, as other theologians, such as Tertullian, argued for a more literal interpretation of bodily resurrection. Tertullian maintained that the resurrected body would retain its physical form, albeit in a perfected state, capable of experiencing the joys of heaven in a tangible way. Another significant debate revolved around the nature of the beatific vision, the direct vision of God promised to the saints in heaven. Augustine, in his De Trinitate, argued that the beatific vision was the ultimate fulfillment of human desire, the point at which the soul would be fully united with God. This vision, according to Augustine, was not merely an intellectual apprehension, but a profound, intimate communion with the divine. In contrast, some early theologians, influenced by Platonic thought, viewed the beatific vision as primarily an intellectual experience. For them, heaven was a realm of perfect knowledge, where the soul would contemplate the divine truths in their purest form. This intellectualist view was challenged by those who emphasized the relational and experiential aspects of the beatific vision, arguing that true communion with God involved both knowledge and love. These debates, while often contentious, served to deepen and enrich the early Christian understanding of heaven. They reflect a community grappling with the profound mysteries of faith, seeking to articulate a vision of heaven that was both faithful to the scriptures and responsive to the deepest longings of the human heart. The early church's views on heaven were marked by a rich diversity of thought and a deep sense of hope. The writings of the Church Fathers offer us a window into the theological insights and debates that shaped the early Christian understanding of heaven. As we reflect on these early interpretations, we are invited to join in this centuries-old conversation, seeking to grasp more fully the wondrous reality that awaits us in the presence of God. The Middle Ages and the Renaissance were epochs where the human spirit soared to new heights, often expressing its yearnings through the divine language of art. To understand how heaven was depicted during these periods, one must immerse oneself in the visual symphony of cathedrals, frescoes, and illuminated manuscripts. Imagine stepping into a grand cathedral, its soaring arches and stained glass windows casting a kaleidoscope of colors across the stone floor. These architectural marvels were not just places of worship, but visual sermons that communicated the glory of heaven to a largely illiterate population. The intricate designs and the grandeur of these edifices were meant to evoke the splendor of the divine realm. One of the most profound artistic representations of heaven can be found in Giotto's frescoes in the Scrovegni Chapel in Padua. Here, the artist depicts the Last Judgment with an array of heavenly beings ascending to glory, while the damned descend into torment. The vibrant colors and dynamic compositions draw the viewer into a contemplation of their eternal destiny, making the abstract concept of heaven tangible and immediate. During the Renaissance, the shift towards humanism brought about a more intimate and personal portrayal of heaven. Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel ceiling, with its depiction of the creation and the Last Judgment, offers a compelling vision of divine beauty and justice. The frescoes are filled with dynamic figures that convey the drama of salvation history, culminating in the awe-inspiring vision of the beatific vision, where the faithful gaze upon the face of God. In these artistic representations, heaven is not just a distant realm but a present reality, intricately woven into the fabric of human experience. The medieval and Renaissance artists used their craft to bridge the gap between the seen and the unseen, providing the faithful with glimpses of the divine that stirred their hearts and minds towards heavenly contemplation. The theological landscape of the medieval and Renaissance periods was rich with scholarly interpretations that sought to articulate the nature of heaven. These interpretations were often grounded in the works of theologians such as Thomas Aquinas, whose Summa Theologica remains one of the most comprehensive explorations of Christian doctrine. Aquinas envisioned heaven as the ultimate fulfillment of human desire, where the soul experiences the beatific vision, a direct, intimate knowledge of God. For Aquinas, this vision was the highest form of happiness, a state of perfect communion with the divine that transcends all earthly joys. He described heaven as a place where the intellect is fully satisfied by the truth, and the will is perfectly aligned with the good. In contrast to Aquinas' scholastic approach, the mystical writings of figures like Hildegard of Bingen and Julian of Norwich offered more experiential insights into the nature of heaven. Hildegard's visions, recorded in her work Scivias, are filled with vivid imagery of the celestial realm, portraying heaven as a place of radiant light and harmony, where the soul is enveloped in divine love. Julian of Norwich, in her Revelations of Divine Love, presents a vision of heaven characterized by the overwhelming goodness and mercy of God. Her famous phrase, "All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well," encapsulates the hopeful assurance of eternal bliss that awaits the faithful. Julian's reflections provide a comforting vision of heaven as a place of ultimate reconciliation and peace. The Renaissance period also saw the rise of humanist scholars who approached the concept of heaven through the lens of classical philosophy. Figures like Erasmus and Pico della Mirandola sought to harmonize the teachings of Christianity with the wisdom of ancient Greece and Rome. Their works reflect a more nuanced understanding of heaven, one that acknowledges the complexities of human nature and the transformative power of divine grace. The views of heaven evolved significantly over time, influenced by the changing cultural and intellectual currents of the medieval and Renaissance periods. Initially, The medieval conception of heaven was heavily influenced by the eschatological expectations of early Christianity, focusing on the final judgment and the establishment of God's eternal kingdom. As the medieval period progressed, the emphasis shifted towards a more nuanced understanding of the afterlife, one that incorporated elements of purgatory and the intermediate state. The works of Dante Alighieri, particularly his Divine Comedy, played a crucial role in shaping these beliefs. Dante's poetic journey through hell, purgatory, and heaven offers a detailed and imaginative exploration of the afterlife, providing a comprehensive vision of the soul's ascent to God. Dante's depiction of heaven in the Paradiso is particularly noteworthy for its portrayal of the celestial spheres, each representing different levels of beatitude. The culmination of this journey is the Empyrean, where Dante experiences the beatific vision and the ultimate union with the divine. This hierarchical vision of heaven reflects the medieval understanding of order and harmony in the cosmos, where every soul finds its rightful place in the divine scheme. The Renaissance brought about a further evolution in the concept of heaven, influenced by the rediscovery of classical texts and the rise of humanism. The focus shifted from the collective to the individual, emphasizing personal salvation and the direct experience of God. This period saw a renewed interest in the writings of the Church Fathers and the early Christian mystics, whose works offered fresh perspectives on the nature of heaven. The Protestant Reformation also had a profound impact on beliefs about heaven. Reformers like Martin Luther and John Calvin emphasized the doctrine of sola fide, faith alone, and the assurance of salvation through faith in Christ. Their teachings challenged the medieval Catholic understanding of merit and penance, offering a more immediate and personal hope of heaven. The medieval and Renaissance periods were marked by a rich tapestry of artistic and scholarly interpretations of heaven. From the grand cathedrals and vibrant frescoes to the profound theological treatises and mystical visions, these epochs offer us a wealth of insights into the human longing for the divine. As we reflect on these historical perspectives, we are reminded of the enduring hope that heaven represents, a hope that transcends time and culture, drawing us ever closer to the eternal embrace of God. To truly grasp the Christian concept of heaven, one must first explore the rich and varied landscape of religious thought that spans across different cultures and traditions. Just as the myriad colors of a rainbow come together to form a beautiful spectrum, so too do the beliefs about the afterlife in various world religions offer a multifaceted view of humanity's deepest hopes and fears. In Judaism, the concept of heaven, or Gan Eden, is both a physical place and a state of spiritual bliss. It is depicted as a paradise where the righteous reside, basking in the presence of God. The Hebrew Bible often uses vivid imagery to describe this place, with lush gardens and flowing rivers, symbolizing the abundance and peace of the divine realm. This vision is intimately connected with the idea of resurrection and the world to come, where the faithful are rewarded for their adherence to God's commandments. Islam presents a similarly vivid and detailed description of heaven, or Jannah. The Quran speaks of Jannah as a garden of everlasting bliss, where the faithful are clothed in silk, adorned with jewelry, and provided with an abundance of food and drink. This paradise is a reward for those who have lived righteous lives, fulfilling the will of Allah. The descriptions in the Quran emphasize both the spiritual and physical pleasures that await the faithful, painting a picture of a bountiful and serene haven. Hinduism, with its rich tapestry of myths and scriptures, offers a different yet equally profound vision of the afterlife. In this tradition, the concept of heaven, or swarga, is a temporary abode for the virtuous souls who have accumulated good karma. Swarga is depicted as a celestial realm, ruled by Indra, the king of the gods, where souls enjoy great happiness and luxury. However, this blissful state is not eternal. It is part of the cycle of samsara, the continuous cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Ultimately, the goal is to attain moksha, liberation from this cycle, and unite with the divine. Buddhism, which shares some philosophical roots with Hinduism, also speaks of various heavens, collectively known as the Deva realms. These realms are places of great joy and pleasure, inhabited by celestial beings who have accumulated good karma. However, like Hinduism, the Buddhist heavens are not eternal. They are temporary states within the cycle of samsara, and the ultimate goal is to attain nirvana, the cessation of suffering and the end of rebirth. In contrast, the ancient Egyptian belief in the afterlife centers on the concept of the field of reeds, a paradise that mirrors the earthly life, but free from its hardships and injustices. Here, the righteous dead, who have passed the judgment of Osiris, live in a state of eternal peace and contentment. They continue to engage in activities they enjoyed in life, but without the toil and suffering. This vision is vividly depicted in tomb paintings and inscriptions, highlighting the Egyptians' desire for continuity and harmony in the afterlife. Despite the diverse cultural contexts and theological frameworks, there are striking similarities in how different religions conceptualize heaven. At the heart of these beliefs is the idea of a place or state of ultimate fulfillment and peace, where the faithful are rewarded for their virtuous lives. Whether it is the lush gardens of Jannah, the celestial realms of Swarga, or the serene field of reeds, these visions reflect a universal human longing for transcendence and eternal joy. Yet, there are also notable differences that highlight the unique aspects of each tradition. For instance, the temporary nature of the heavens in Hinduism and Buddhism contrasts sharply with the eternal paradise promised in Christianity and Islam. This reflects differing views on the nature of the soul and the ultimate goal of human existence. In the Eastern traditions, the emphasis is on liberation from the cycle of rebirth, while in the Abrahamic faiths, the focus is on eternal communion with the divine. Furthermore, the Christian concept of heaven, as a place of direct and intimate communion with God, offers a distinct perspective on the afterlife. The idea of the beatific vision, where the faithful gaze upon the face of God and experience His infinite love, sets the Christian heaven apart as a uniquely relational and personal destination. This is not merely a place of reward, but a profound fulfillment of the deepest desires of the human heart. In exploring these various beliefs, one gains a deeper appreciation for the diverse ways in which humanity has sought to understand the mysteries of life and death. Each tradition offers its own wisdom and insights, reflecting the rich tapestry of human experience and the universal quest for meaning and hope. Common themes across these religious visions of heaven include the ideas of reward and justice, the presence of divine beings, and the continuation of life in a perfected form. These themes resonate with our intrinsic sense of fairness and our longing for a world free from suffering and filled with peace and joy. However, each tradition also brings its unique perspective to the concept of heaven. For instance, the Hindu and Buddhist views emphasize the impermanence of all states within samsara, including heaven, highlighting a philosophical understanding of the transient nature of all things. This stands in contrast to the eternal heaven of Christianity and Islam, where the emphasis is on everlasting communion with the divine. The detailed and sensory-rich descriptions in the Quran and the vivid depictions in Egyptian tomb art provide a stark contrast to the more abstract and philosophical interpretations found in Eastern traditions. These differences underscore the varied ways in which human cultures seek to make sense of the unknown and the ineffable. The exploration of heaven across different religious traditions not only broadens our understanding of this profound concept, but also enriches our appreciation of the diverse ways in which humanity has grappled with the ultimate questions of existence. Each vision of heaven, with its unique features and common threads, offers a glimpse into the hopes, fears, and aspirations that have shaped human civilization throughout history. As we reflect on these beliefs, we are reminded of our shared quest for meaning and the enduring hope that, beyond the veil of this life, there lies a realm of ultimate peace and joy. The concept of heaven has profoundly shaped Western literature, infusing it with themes of hope, transcendence, and ultimate justice. From the earliest Christian writers to the great poets and novelists of the modern era, the vision of heaven has been a wellspring of inspiration and a focal point for exploring the human condition. Consider Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy, a masterpiece that stands as a monumental testament to the medieval imagination. Dante's journey through hell, purgatory, and heaven not only delineates the realms of the afterlife, but also serves as an allegory for the soul's ascent to God. In Paradiso, Dante envisions heaven as a series of celestial spheres, each one closer to the divine presence. The culmination of this journey is the Empyrean, where he experiences the beatific vision, a direct encounter with God's infinite love and light. Dante's vivid and imaginative depiction of heaven has left an indelible mark on Western literature, offering readers a vision of ultimate redemption and divine beauty. Moving forward to the Renaissance, John Milton's Paradise Lost provides another profound literary exploration of heaven. Milton's epic poem, written in the grand style of classical epics, tells the story of the fall of man, juxtaposing the celestial harmony of heaven with the rebellion and fall of Satan. In his portrayal of heaven, Milton emphasizes the order, glory, and majesty of God's realm, contrasting it sharply with the chaos and despair of hell. Milton's heaven is not just a place but a state of perfect obedience and union with God's will. His work has influenced countless writers and thinkers, offering a powerful meditation on the themes of justice, free will, and divine providence. In more recent times, C.S. Lewis himself has contributed significantly to the literary portrayal of heaven. In The Great Divorce, Lewis presents a unique allegorical vision of the afterlife, where the inhabitants of a dreary gray town are given the opportunity to visit a beautiful, mountainous land representing heaven. Through a series of encounters and dialogues, Lewis explores the choices and attitudes that lead souls toward or away from heaven. His depiction is both imaginative and deeply theological, emphasizing the transformative power of divine grace and the ultimate joy of union with God. Heaven has also played a pivotal role in the works of American writers such as Emily Dickinson and Mark Twain. Dickinson's poetry often touches on themes of immortality and the afterlife, with heaven portrayed as a place of profound peace and fulfillment. Her poem, Because I Could Not Stop for Death, reflects a serene acceptance of death and an anticipation of the eternal journey. Twain, on the other hand, offers a more satirical take on heavenly themes in works like Captain Stormfield's Visit to Heaven, where he humorously critiques contemporary notions of paradise. As Western society evolved, so too did its conceptions of heaven. The Enlightenment brought about significant shifts in thought, emphasizing reason, science, and individualism. These changes influenced theological and philosophical discussions about heaven, often leading to more abstract and less literal interpretations of the afterlife. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the Romantic movement, with its emphasis on emotion, nature, and the sublime, infused new life into the idea of heaven. Poets like William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge explored the transcendent aspects of nature, often using heavenly imagery to convey the sublime beauty and spiritual significance of the natural world. For the Romantics, heaven was not just a distant realm, but a state of heightened perception and spiritual communion that could be glimpsed in moments of profound beauty and inspiration. The Industrial Revolution and the rise of modern science brought about further changes in the perception of heaven. As scientific understanding of the universe expanded, traditional religious views were often challenged, leading to more metaphorical and symbolic interpretations of heaven. In literature, this shift is evident in the works of authors like Thomas Hardy and George Eliot, who grappled with questions of faith, doubt, and the human condition in an increasingly secular world. In the 20th century, existentialist writers like Albert Camus and Jean-Paul Sartre questioned the very existence of an afterlife, focusing instead on the meaning and value of human life in the here and now. Despite these philosophical shifts, the idea of heaven continued to exert a powerful influence on Western thought, often serving as a counterpoint to existential despair and nihilism. Modern literature has continued to explore and reinterpret the concept of heaven in diverse and imaginative ways. From the magical realism of Gabriel Garcia Marquez to the dystopian visions of Philip K. Dick, contemporary writers have used the theme of heaven to explore a wide range of existential, ethical, and metaphysical questions. These works reflect the ongoing human fascination with the afterlife and the enduring hope for transcendence and ultimate meaning. The concept of heaven has profoundly influenced Western literature, serving as a source of inspiration and a framework for exploring the deepest questions of existence. From Dante's celestial spheres to Lewis's allegorical landscapes, from the poetic musings of the Romantics to the existential reflections of modern writers, the vision of heaven has continued to evolve, reflecting the changing cultural and intellectual currents of Western society. As we contemplate these literary portrayals, we are reminded of our shared human longing for a realm of perfect peace, justice, and beauty, a hope that transcends time and continues to inspire our hearts and minds. The question of whether heaven is a physical place or a spiritual state has long intrigued theologians and believers alike. This debate touches upon the very essence of our hope and expectation for the afterlife. To navigate this profound mystery, we must explore the theological explanations, biblical support, and scholarly debates that have shaped our understanding of heaven. The nature of heaven has been a topic of rich theological exploration throughout Christian history. Some theologians argue that heaven is a tangible physical place where the redeemed will dwell in resurrected bodies. This view aligns with the traditional Christian hope of bodily resurrection and the restoration of all creation. Heaven, in this sense, is envisioned as a renewed earth, free from sin and suffering, where believers will enjoy eternal communion with God in a transformed physical existence. On the other hand, many theologians propose that heaven is primarily a spiritual state, a realm of pure spirit where the soul experiences direct and unmediated communion with God. This perspective emphasizes the transcendence of heaven, portraying it as a dimension beyond our physical reality. In this view, the true essence of heaven lies in the beatific vision, the eternal, blissful contemplation of God's infinite beauty and love. The scriptures provide insights that support both the physical and spiritual conceptions of heaven. In the book of Revelation, the Apostle John describes a vision of a new heaven and a new earth, suggesting a physical renewal of creation, Revelation 21:1. He also depicts the New Jerusalem descending from heaven, adorned like a bride, symbolizing the dwelling place of God with humanity in a tangible, glorified form, Revelation 21:2-3. These passages evoke a vision of heaven that includes physical elements such as streets of gold and gates of pearl, reinforcing the idea of a physical paradise. Conversely, other biblical texts emphasize the spiritual nature of heaven. Jesus' words in John 14:2, "In my Father's house are many rooms," can be interpreted metaphorically, indicating the vast and varied experiences of divine presence rather than literal physical spaces. Additionally, Paul's letters often highlight the spiritual aspects of the afterlife. In 1 Corinthians 15:44, he contrasts the natural body with the spiritual body, suggesting a transformation that transcends physical limitations. The Psalms and prophetic literature also contribute to this understanding. Psalm 16:11 speaks of the fullness of joy and eternal pleasures at God's right hand, emphasizing the spiritual delights of divine fellowship. Similarly, Isaiah's vision of the new heavens and new earth portrays a realm where sorrow and suffering are no more, focusing on the spiritual renewal and ultimate peace that characterize heaven. Isaiah 65:17-19. Throughout history, scholars have engaged in vibrant debates over the nature of heaven. often drawing upon both biblical texts and philosophical reasoning. The early church fathers, such as Augustine and Aquinas, provided foundational insights that continued to influence contemporary thought. Augustine, in his seminal work, The City of God, presents a vision of heaven as the ultimate fulfillment of human desire, where the soul enjoys perfect knowledge and love of God. Augustine's emphasis on the beatific vision underscores the spiritual nature of heaven, yet he also acknowledges the resurrection of the body, suggesting a harmonious integration of physical and spiritual realities. Thomas Aquinas, in his Summa Theologica, elaborates on Augustine's ideas, proposing that the resurrected body will be perfected and glorified, capable of experiencing both physical and spiritual joys. Aquinas argues that the physical elements of heaven, such as the New Jerusalem, are symbolic representations of the profound spiritual truths that await the faithful. The Reformation brought new perspectives to this debate, with figures like Martin Luther and John Calvin emphasizing the immediacy of spiritual communion with God. Luther's concept of the real presence in the Eucharist parallels his understanding of heaven as a realm where believers experience the direct presence of Christ. Calvin, in his Institutes of the Christian Religion, highlights the spiritual union with God as the essence of heavenly bliss, while still affirming the resurrection of the body. In the modern era, theologians continue to explore these themes, often incorporating insights from science and philosophy. Some contemporary thinkers propose that heaven may involve dimensions beyond our current understanding, integrating physical and spiritual elements in ways that transcend our earthly experience. Others emphasize the existential and relational aspects of heaven, focusing on the transformative encounter with God's love. The physical versus spiritual debate involves a rich tapestry of arguments and counter-arguments. Proponents of the physical view often cite the resurrection of Jesus as the prototype for the believer's future resurrection. Jesus' post-resurrection appearances, where he interacts with his disciples in tangible ways, provide a compelling case for a physical dimension to the afterlife. However, those who advocate for a primarily spiritual heaven point to the transcendent nature of God and the limitations of human language to fully describe divine realities. They argue that the physical descriptions of heaven in Scripture are metaphorical, designed to convey spiritual truths in terms that finite human minds can grasp. Moreover, the notion of a purely spiritual heaven resonates with the mystical traditions of Christianity, where the focus is on the soul's union with God. Mystics like Teresa of Avila and John of the Cross describe their experiences of divine presence in profoundly spiritual terms, emphasizing the inner transformation and intimate communion with God that characterize their vision of heaven. Ultimately, the debate over the nature of heaven reflects the dynamic and multifaceted nature of Christian theology. It invites believers to hold together the physical and spiritual dimensions of their hope, recognizing that both aspects contribute to the richness and depth of the Christian vision of the afterlife. The question of whether heaven is a physical place or a spiritual state remains a profound mystery, one that theologians and believers continue to explore with reverence and wonder. The biblical support and scholarly debates highlight the complexity and beauty of this hope, encouraging us to embrace the fullness of God's promise with faith and anticipation. As we ponder the nature of heaven, we are reminded that the ultimate reality of the afterlife is beyond our current comprehension, yet intimately connected to our deepest longings for communion with the divine. To envision heaven is to gaze into the heart of ultimate fulfillment, where the soul finds its rest and joy in the presence of the divine. The attributes traditionally associated with heaven, eternal joy and peace, are not mere abstractions but profound realities that speak to our deepest yearnings. In the Christian tradition, heaven is often depicted as a place of boundless joy, free from the sorrows and struggles of earthly life. This joy is not transient or superficial, but a deep, abiding gladness rooted in the presence of God. The psalmist captures this beautifully in Psalm 16:11. You make known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand. Here, the joy of heaven is intimately connected with being in God's presence, a joy that is full and eternal. Similarly, peace in heaven is portrayed as a state of perfect harmony and rest. It is the peace that surpasses all understanding, a peace that fills the soul with tranquility and assurance. In Revelation 21:4, we find a poignant description of this peace. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. This vision of heaven as a place where pain and suffering are no more is deeply comforting, offering hope to those who endure the trials of this world. Philosophers and theologians have long pondered the nature of eternal happiness and peace, seeking to understand how these attributes of heaven relate to our human experience. Thomas Aquinas, in his Summa Theologica, provides a profound analysis of the beatific vision, which he describes as the ultimate end of human life and the source of perfect happiness. For Aquinas, the beatific vision is the direct, unmediated knowledge of God, a state in which the intellect and will are perfectly satisfied by the infinite goodness and truth of God. This vision is the essence of heavenly joy, where the soul experiences complete fulfillment and delight in the divine presence. The concept of eternal peace in heaven can be examined through the lens of philosophical discussions on the nature of peace itself. Peace, in its truest sense, is not merely the absence of conflict, but the presence of harmony and order. In heaven, this peace is achieved through the perfect alignment of the soul with God's will, a state where all disordered desires and conflicts are resolved in the light of divine truth and love. Augustine of Hippo, in his City of God, speaks of the heavenly city as a place of perfect order, where peace reigns supreme because every part of creation is in its rightful place, oriented towards the ultimate good. Contemporary philosophers have also explored the idea of eternal happiness and peace, often drawing on insights from psychology and neuroscience. Some suggest that the joy and peace of heaven can be understood as states of optimal well-being, where the soul is in a state of complete flourishing and contentment. These modern perspectives emphasize the holistic nature of heavenly joy and peace, encompassing not only the spiritual, but also the emotional and psychological dimensions of human existence. In modern theological discourse, the characteristics of heaven are often discussed in the context of relationality and community. Heaven is seen not just as a place of individual fulfillment, but as a community of love and fellowship. The joy and peace of heaven are thus deeply relational, arising from the perfect communion of saints and the unbroken fellowship with God. This perspective highlights the social dimensions of heavenly happiness, where the joy of one enriches the joy of all, and the peace of each contributes to the peace of the whole. Contemporary theologians also emphasize the transformative nature of heavenly joy and peace. Heaven is not a static state, but a dynamic reality, where the soul continually grows in love and knowledge of God. This ongoing transformation is a source of ever-increasing joy and deeper peace, as the soul becomes more fully conformed to the image of Christ. This view aligns with the Eastern Orthodox concept of theosis, or divinization, where the ultimate goal of the Christian life is union with God and participation in His divine nature. The environmental and ecological dimensions of heaven have also gained attention in modern theology. Some theologians propose that the peace of heaven extends to all creation, envisioning a renewed earth where humanity lives in harmony with the natural world. This vision reflects the biblical hope of a restored creation, where the curse of sin is lifted and the earth is filled with the glory of God. In this renewed creation, the joy and peace of heaven are experienced not only by humanity, but by all creatures, as they share in the redemption and renewal of all things. The characteristics of heaven, eternal joy and peace, are central to the Christian hope and offer a profound vision of the ultimate fulfillment of human desire. Through theological and philosophical analysis, we gain a deeper understanding of these attributes, recognizing that they encompass both the individual and communal, the spiritual and emotional, the present and the transformative. As we contemplate the joy and peace of heaven, we are invited to glimpse the eternal realities that await us and to live in the light of that hope, drawing strength and inspiration for our journey towards the divine embrace. To truly appreciate the Christian conception of heaven, it is illuminating to explore how this notion is perceived within the broader context of Abrahamic religions. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam share a common spiritual heritage, yet each offers a distinct vision of the afterlife that reflects its unique theological and cultural perspectives. In Judaism, the concept of heaven, often referred to as Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, is both a place of reward for the righteous and a state of spiritual closeness to God. This vision is rooted in the Hebrew Bible and later rabbinic literature, which provide glimpses of the afterlife that are rich in symbolism and spiritual significance. The Torah itself offers few explicit descriptions of heaven. However, the Psalms and prophetic writings provide a more detailed picture. Psalm 16:11, for instance, speaks of the joy and pleasures at God's right hand, suggesting an intimate and fulfilling relationship with the divine. You make known to me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. Similarly, the book of Isaiah envisions a new heaven and a new earth where sorrow and pain are no more. Isaiah 65:17-19. Rabbinic literature further develops these ideas, describing Gan Eden as a place of peace and light, where the souls of the righteous dwell in eternal bliss. The Talmud speaks of the world to come, Olam Haba, as a time of resurrection and final judgment, where the righteous are rewarded with eternal life and the vision of God's glory. This eschatological hope is central to Jewish belief, emphasizing both the moral imperatives of this life and the ultimate justice of the world to come. Christianity, building on its Jewish roots, presents a richly developed theology of heaven. The New Testament offers numerous descriptions of heaven as both a present reality and a future promise. Jesus' teachings, the writings of the apostles, and the apocalyptic visions of Revelation together provide a multifaceted view of the afterlife. One of the most poignant promises of heaven comes from Jesus himself in the Gospel of John. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? John 14:2. This image of a heavenly home with many rooms evokes a sense of belonging and eternal security in the presence of God. The Apostle Paul elaborates on the nature of the resurrection body in 1 Corinthians 15, describing it as imperishable, glorious, and spiritual. He contrasts the natural body, subject to decay and mortality, with the resurrected body that is fit for eternal life. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. 1 Corinthians 15:44. Paul's vision underscores the transformative power of resurrection, where believers are conformed to the image of Christ and enter into the fullness of divine life. The book of Revelation offers some of the most vivid and symbolic depictions of heaven, portraying it as the New Jerusalem, a city of dazzling beauty and divine light. In this vision, heaven is a place where God dwells among his people, where he will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. Revelation 21:4. This eschatological hope is characterized by the complete renewal of creation and the perfect communion of God and humanity. Islam presents a detailed and compelling vision of heaven, known as Jannah. The Quran describes Jannah as a garden of eternal bliss, filled with rivers of water, milk, honey, and wine, and abundant with fruits and delights. This imagery is deeply evocative, capturing both the sensory pleasures and the spiritual joys that await the faithful. The Quran emphasizes that Jannah is a reward for those who have lived righteous lives, obeyed God's commandments, and believed in his messengers. Surah Al-Waqi'ah provides a vivid description of the heavenly paradise. They will be amid thornless lotus trees, among banana trees with fruit piled high, in shade long extended, by water flowing constantly, and abundant fruit never interrupted nor forbidden. Quran 56:27-33. This portrayal underscores the eternal nature of the rewards and the boundless generosity of God. Islamic eschatology also highlights the moral and ethical dimensions of the afterlife. The Day of Judgment is a central theme, where individuals are held accountable for their deeds, and the righteous are rewarded with entry into Jannah. The Hadith literature, which records the sayings and actions of the Prophet Muhammad, further enriches these descriptions, emphasizing the physical and spiritual blessings of heaven. The sacred texts of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam provide a wealth of evidence for their respective visions of heaven. These texts not only describe the afterlife, but also offer profound theological insights into the nature of God, the human soul, and the ultimate destiny of creation. In the Torah and Hebrew Bible, heaven is depicted as a place of divine presence and ultimate reward. The prophetic visions of Isaiah and Ezekiel, the wisdom literature of the Psalms, and the apocalyptic imagery of Daniel all contribute to a rich tapestry of eschatological hope. The New Testament builds on these foundations, with the Gospels, epistles, and Revelation offering detailed and symbolic descriptions of the heavenly realm. The teachings of Jesus, the theological reflections of Paul, and the apocalyptic visions of John provide a comprehensive Christian understanding of heaven as a place of eternal communion with God. The Quran, as the central text of Islam, provides numerous passages that describe the nature and rewards of Jannah. These descriptions are complemented by the Hadith, which offer further insights into the afterlife and the criteria for entry into paradise. The diverse visions of heaven in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam have profound theological implications for interfaith understanding and dialogue. While each tradition offers a unique perspective, there are common themes that can serve as points of connection and mutual enrichment. The emphasis on moral and ethical living, the hope for ultimate justice and reward, and the vision of a restored and perfected creation are shared across these faiths. These commonalities provide a foundation for dialogue, where believers can explore their shared hopes and aspirations for the afterlife. Moreover, the distinctiveness of each tradition's vision of heaven invites a deeper appreciation of the richness and diversity of religious thought. By engaging with the theological and spiritual insights of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, believers can broaden their understanding of their own faith and the faith of others. The Abrahamic religions offer a rich and varied tapestry of beliefs about heaven, each contributing to a deeper understanding of the afterlife. The textual evidence and theological implications of these visions provide a foundation for both individual reflection and interfaith dialogue. As we explore these perspectives, we are reminded of the profound hope that transcends our earthly existence and invites us into the eternal embrace of the divine. To explore the concept of heaven within Eastern philosophies, particularly Hinduism and Buddhism, is to embark on a journey through a rich tapestry of spiritual ideas and visions of the afterlife. Both traditions offer profound insights into the nature of existence, the soul, and ultimate fulfillment, though their paths and destinations often diverge from Western perspectives. In Hinduism, the concept of heaven is multifaceted and deeply interwoven with the broader cosmological and philosophical framework of the tradition. The primary vision of heaven, known as Swarga, is often described as a celestial realm where the virtuous souls enjoy pleasure and happiness as a reward for their good karma. Swarga is ruled by Indra, the king of the gods, and is depicted as a paradise of beauty and delight, replete with gardens, palaces, and divine music. However, it is important to note that Swarga is not the final destination for the soul. Hindu philosophy views heaven as a temporary abode within the cycle of samsara, the continuous cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. The ultimate goal in Hinduism is to attain moksha, or liberation from samsara, which involves the realization of one's unity with Brahman, the supreme, unchanging reality. Moksha is a state of eternal peace and bliss, far surpassing the transient pleasures of swarga. The Bhagavad Gita, one of the most revered texts in Hinduism, elucidates this distinction. In chapter 2, verse 20, it states, "The soul is neither born and nor does it die, nor does it exist on coming into being. For it is unborn, eternal, everlasting, and primeval. Even though the body is slain, the soul is not." This highlights the eternal nature of the soul and the higher aspiration for liberation beyond the temporary joys of heavenly realms. Buddhism, while sharing some cultural and philosophical roots with Hinduism, offers a distinct perspective on the afterlife. The Buddhist concept of heaven, often referred to as Deva realms, encompasses multiple heavenly realms where beings enjoy blissful existences. These realms are part of the samsaric cycle, and like Swarga, they are impermanent and subject to change. The Deva realms are seen as favorable rebirths resulting from good karma, where beings live in great happiness and pleasure. However, the ultimate goal in Buddhism is not to remain in these heavenly states, but to achieve nirvana, the cessation of suffering and the end of the cycle of rebirth. Nirvana represents a state of ultimate liberation, free from all desires and attachments. The Dhammapada, a key text in Buddhism, encapsulates this teaching in verse 276. "You yourselves must strive. The Buddhas only point the way. Those who have entered the path and who meditate will be freed from the bonds of illusion." This underscores the emphasis on personal effort and the attainment of enlightenment as the true liberation, beyond the temporary and illusory joys of the Deva realms. When comparing Eastern and Western views of heaven, several key differences and similarities emerge. These comparisons reveal not only the distinctiveness of each tradition, but also the universal human quest for understanding and transcendence. In Western traditions, particularly in Christianity, heaven is often viewed as the ultimate and eternal destination for the righteous, where they enjoy eternal communion with God. This is in stark contrast to the Hindu and Buddhist views, where heavenly realms are temporary and part of the samsaric cycle. The ultimate goal in Hinduism and Buddhism is to attain liberation, moksha or nirvana, which transcends the temporary pleasures of heaven. In Christianity, the goal is eternal life in heaven, characterized by everlasting joy and direct fellowship with the divine. Hinduism and Buddhism offer different views on the soul. Hinduism posits an eternal soul, Atman, that seeks union with Brahman. Buddhism, on the other hand, teaches the doctrine of anatta, no self, where the notion of a permanent, unchanging self is an illusion. This contrasts with the Christian view of an eternal soul, destined for heaven or hell. In Hinduism and Buddhism, the concept of karma plays a central role in determining one's rebirth and the possibility of attaining heaven. In Christianity, while deeds are significant, the emphasis is often on divine grace and faith as the means to attain heaven. Both Eastern and Western traditions emphasize the importance of moral and ethical living. In Hinduism and Buddhism, good karma results from virtuous actions, leading to favorable rebirths or liberation. Similarly, Christianity stresses righteous living and faith in Christ as the path to eternal life in heaven. All traditions seek to transcend the suffering of the earthly existence. In Hinduism and Buddhism, this is achieved through moksha or nirvana. In Christianity, it is realized in the eternal joy and peace of heaven. Meditation, prayer, and other spiritual disciplines are common across these traditions, serving as means to attain higher states of being, whether it is moksha, nirvana, or eternal communion with God. Despite differences in metaphysical understandings, All traditions offer a vision of ultimate reality that transcends the mundane world. Whether it is Brahman, Nirvana, or the Christian God, these ultimate realities represent the highest truth and fulfillment. The exploration of Eastern philosophies and their concepts of heaven alongside Western views reveals a rich diversity of spiritual thought. While the specific paths and destinations may differ, the underlying human quest for understanding, transcendence, and ultimate fulfillment remains a common thread. By examining these perspectives, we gain a deeper appreciation of the varied and profound ways in which humanity seeks to comprehend the mysteries of existence and the promise of a transcendent reality. The topic of heaven often brings to mind serene images of peace and joy. Yet beneath these comforting visions lie surprising and sometimes counterintuitive truths that challenge our traditional beliefs. To uncover these truths is to embark on a journey of deeper understanding, one that invites us to re-examine what we thought we knew about the afterlife. One of the most commonly misunderstood teachings about heaven concerns the nature of eternal life itself. Many envision heaven as a static, unchanging paradise, yet the scriptures suggest a dynamic and evolving experience of divine presence. The idea of eternal growth in knowledge and love of God is a theme that runs through the writings of many theologians. For instance, Saint Gregory of Nyssa, one of the early church fathers, spoke of the concept of epektasis, a continual progression and deepening in the soul's journey toward God. Heaven, in this view, is not a place of final rest, but an ever-expanding horizon of divine beauty and truth. Another misunderstood teaching is the notion of rewards in heaven. While the idea of heavenly rewards is well established in Christian doctrine, it is often misinterpreted as a merit-based system akin to earthly achievements. Theologians like St. Augustine have pointed out that the true reward of heaven is not material wealth or status, but the beatific vision, the direct, unmediated encounter with God's infinite goodness. This encounter is the ultimate fulfillment of all human longing, transcending any earthly concept of reward. Additionally, the relationship between heaven and the present world is frequently misunderstood. Many perceive heaven as entirely separate from earthly life, a distant realm to be reached only after death. However, Jesus taught that the kingdom of heaven is both a future promise and a present reality. In the Lord's Prayer we pray, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven." Matthew 6:10. This suggests that the principles and values of heaven are meant to be realized in our daily lives, transforming the world around us even as we await its ultimate fulfillment. The insights of theologians who present controversial views on heaven often challenge us to think more deeply and expansively. Consider the works of Karl Rahner, a prominent 20th century theologian who proposed the idea of anonymous Christians. Rahner suggested that those who seek truth and live according to the light of their conscience, even without explicit knowledge of Christ, may also share in the grace of heaven. This inclusive vision broadens our understanding of God's salvific will, emphasizing the boundless reach of divine love and mercy. Hans Urs von Balthasar, another influential theologian, offered a provocative view in his work, "Dare We Hope That All Men Be Saved?" Balthasar explored the possibility of universal salvation, arguing that Christians should hope and pray for the salvation of all people, trusting in the infinite mercy of God. While this view does not deny the reality of hell, it challenges believers to contemplate the depths of God's redemptive power and the extent of His grace. C.S. Lewis himself provided thought-provoking insights in The Great Divorce, where he depicts heaven and hell not as fixed destinations, but as choices that individuals continually make. In this imaginative narrative, the inhabitants of a dreary town, representing hell, have the opportunity to visit a beautiful mountainous land, representing heaven. The choices they make during their visit reflect their willingness to embrace or reject God's love, illustrating the ongoing nature of spiritual growth and the possibility of transformation even after death. These controversial and counterintuitive views can have a profound impact on believers, challenging them to deepen their faith and broaden their understanding of God's nature. The idea of continual growth in heaven invites us to approach our spiritual lives with humility and wonder, recognizing that our journey with God is an eternal adventure. This perspective can inspire a more dynamic and engaged faith, encouraging believers to seek God's presence in every moment and to cultivate a spirit of lifelong learning and exploration. The concept of heavenly rewards as the beatific vision shifts our focus from external achievements to the internal disposition of the heart. It reminds us that the true measure of our lives is found in our relationship with God and our capacity to love. This understanding can lead to a more authentic and selfless practice of faith, where acts of kindness and service are seen not as means to an end, but as expressions of our deepening communion with God. The vision of heaven, as both a future promise and a present reality, calls us to live out the values of the kingdom of heaven here and now. It challenges us to work for justice, peace, and compassion in our communities, embodying the love of Christ in tangible ways. This perspective can transform our everyday actions and interactions, infusing them with eternal significance. The inclusive views of theologians like Rahner and Balthasar expand our understanding of God's mercy and challenge us to adopt a more open-hearted and compassionate stance towards others. They remind us that the grace of God is not confined to our limited understanding, but is vast and encompassing. This can lead to greater interfaith dialogue and cooperation, fostering a spirit of mutual respect and shared humanity. The surprising truths and controversial views about heaven invite us to re-examine our beliefs and to embrace a more expansive and profound vision of the afterlife. They challenge us to see heaven not as a distant, static reward, but as a dynamic, evolving relationship with the divine that begins here and now. As we contemplate these insights, we are called to deepen our faith, to live out the values of the kingdom of heaven in our daily lives, and to trust in the boundless mercy and love of God. Throughout history, the artistic depictions of heaven have been as diverse and profound as the cultures that created them. These depictions often reflect the theological, philosophical, and aesthetic values of their times, offering us a visual journey into humanity's collective imagination and spiritual aspirations. In the early Christian era, the catacombs of Rome provide some of the earliest artistic representations of heaven. These underground burial sites feature frescoes and mosaics depicting biblical scenes, including visions of paradise. For instance, the Good Shepherd motif, symbolizing Christ guiding souls to heaven, is a recurrent theme, emphasizing the pastoral and nurturing aspects of the divine realm. As we move into the Byzantine period, the art becomes more elaborate and symbolic. The Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, with its magnificent mosaics, offers a glimpse into the celestial grandeur of heaven. The depiction of Christ Pantocrator, ruler of all, in the dome, surrounded by angels and saints, creates a powerful image of the divine order and the heavenly court. This style emphasizes the transcendence and majesty of heaven, reflecting the hierarchical nature of Byzantine theology. The Gothic era brought about a shift towards more naturalistic and human-centered representations. The stained glass windows of cathedrals like Chartres and Notre Dame de Paris illustrate the biblical narrative and heavenly visions with intricate detail and vibrant colors. These windows serve not only as didactic tools, but also as visual experiences of the divine light, symbolizing the illumination of the soul and the presence of God in the midst of the faithful. The Renaissance, with its emphasis on humanism and the rediscovery of classical antiquity, brought a renewed interest in the beauty and harmony of the human form. Artists like Michelangelo and Raphael infused their works with a sense of divine beauty and grace. Michelangelo's The Last Judgment in the Sistine Chapel is a towering example, depicting the final separation of the righteous and the damned, with heaven portrayed as a place of eternal glory and dynamic movement. Raphael's Disputa in the Vatican's Stanza della Segnatura showcases a celestial assembly with the Holy Trinity at its apex, surrounded by saints and theologians, highlighting the intellectual and spiritual communion of heaven. In the modern era, artistic representations of heaven have continued to evolve, reflecting contemporary theological and cultural shifts. The abstraction and experimentation of modern art have allowed for new and diverse ways to visualize the divine. Marc Chagall's works, for example, blend Jewish and Christian themes with vibrant, dreamlike imagery. His depictions of biblical scenes often include visions of heaven that are both whimsical and deeply spiritual, inviting viewers to contemplate the mystical aspects of the divine. Salvador Dali's surrealist approach brings a unique perspective to heavenly themes. His painting, The Sacrament of the Last Supper, combines traditional Christian iconography with a surreal, otherworldly atmosphere, suggesting the transcendence and mystery of the Eucharist and the heavenly banquet. Contemporary artists continue to explore and challenge traditional concepts of heaven. Yayoi Kusama's infinity mirror rooms, with their endless reflections and immersive environments, evoke a sense of the infinite and the sublime, inviting viewers to experience a form of transcendence and wonder. The symbolism behind different representations of heaven in art is rich and varied. Light, for instance, is a universal symbol of the divine, representing God's presence, truth, and guidance. The use of gold in Byzantine mosaics and icons signifies the uncreated light of heaven, a realm beyond time and space. Gardens and paradisiacal landscapes are common motifs, symbolizing peace, abundance, and the restoration of Edenic harmony. In Islamic art, the lush gardens of Jannah are depicted with flowing rivers and verdant foliage, reflecting the Quranic descriptions of paradise. The human form, particularly in the Renaissance, is used to express the beauty and dignity of the divine image. The idealized bodies of saints and angels in Michelangelo's works, for example, convey a sense of heavenly perfection and grace. In modern interpretations, abstraction and surrealism allow for new forms of symbolism. The fragmented and disorienting spaces in some contemporary artworks can represent the transcendence of earthly limitations and the ineffable nature of the divine. The concept of heaven has profoundly shaped Western literature, serving as a source of inspiration, contemplation, and sometimes critique. From the epic poems of antiquity to the novels of the modern era, literary works have explored and expanded the vision of the afterlife. Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy stands as a monumental work in this tradition. In Paradiso, the third part of the epic, Dante describes his journey through the celestial spheres, guided by Beatrice. His detailed and allegorical depiction of heaven, with its 9 concentric circles leading to the Empyrean, offers a vision of ultimate union with God. This work has influenced countless writers and thinkers, shaping the Western imagination of the afterlife. John Milton's Paradise Lost also offers a profound exploration of heavenly themes. Though primarily focused on the fall of Satan and the loss of Eden, Milton's portrayal of heaven as a realm of perfect order and divine justice reflects his deep theological insights. His depiction of the celestial hierarchy and the nature of divine providence has left an enduring mark on English literature. In more recent times, C.S. Lewis's The Great Divorce presents an imaginative exploration of the afterlife, where the boundaries between heaven and hell are fluid and permeable. Through a series of allegorical encounters, Lewis invites readers to consider the choices that lead to eternal joy or separation from God. His work emphasizes the moral and spiritual dimensions of the afterlife, encouraging readers to reflect on their own lives and destinies. The portrayal of heaven in movies, TV shows, and other media has both reflected and shaped public perceptions. Films like It's a Wonderful Life and Field of Dreams use the idea of heaven to explore themes of redemption, purpose, and the enduring connections between the earthly and the divine. Television shows such as The Good Place offer a more humorous and philosophical take on the afterlife, blending traditional concepts with contemporary ethical dilemmas. These portrayals often challenge viewers to reconsider their assumptions about heaven and the nature of moral goodness. The influence of these portrayals on public perception and understanding of heaven is significant. They shape how people imagine the afterlife, inform their beliefs about morality and justice, and inspire both hope and introspection. Art and literature, with their rich symbolic language and imaginative power, provide a vital means of exploring the mysteries of heaven. They invite us to transcend our everyday experiences and contemplate the eternal, offering glimpses of the divine that can transform our understanding of life and death. The depiction of heaven in art and literature serves as a testament to humanity's enduring quest for meaning and transcendence. From the majestic mosaics of Byzantium to the surreal canvases of contemporary artists, from the epic poetry of Dante to the allegorical tales of C.S. Lewis, these representations enrich our spiritual imagination and deepen our understanding of the divine. As we engage with these works, we are invited to reflect on the nature of heaven and the ultimate destiny that awaits us all. The individual experiences of believers often offer some of the most vivid and compelling visions of heaven. These testimonies, drawn from personal encounters, dreams, and near-death experiences, provide a rich tapestry of spiritual insights and reflections that both inspire and challenge our understanding of the afterlife. Consider the stories of those who have experienced near-death phenomena. One notable account is that of Dr. Eben Alexander, a neurosurgeon who, after falling into a coma due to a severe brain infection, reported experiencing a transcendental journey to a heavenly realm. In his book, Proof of Heaven, Alexander describes a place of indescribable beauty, filled with vibrant colors, music, and a sense of profound peace and love. His experience, which he recounts in detail, challenges conventional scientific understandings and invites readers to consider the reality of a spiritual dimension beyond our physical existence. Another compelling testimony comes from Colton Burpo, a young boy who, during a life-threatening surgery, claimed to visit heaven. His story, recounted in the book Heaven is for Real, by his father Todd Burpo, includes descriptions of meeting Jesus, seeing angels, and encountering deceased family members. Colton's vivid and consistent accounts, despite his young age, have captivated millions and provided a source of hope and comfort to many who believe in the promise of eternal life. These transformative encounters with the divine often leave a lasting impact on those who experience them. They are not merely visions of a distant paradise, but powerful, life-changing events that reshape the individual's faith and understanding of God's presence and love. Consider the experience of Saint Teresa of Avila, a 16th-century Spanish mystic and nun. Teresa's visions of heaven were not only deeply personal, but also profoundly transformative. In her autobiography, The Life of Teresa of Jesus, she recounts a vision of the soul's union with God, which she describes as an ecstatic and intimate encounter with divine love. This vision not only strengthened her faith, but also inspired her to pursue a life of spiritual devotion and reform within the Carmelite order. Similarly, Julian of Norwich, a 14th-century English anchoress, experienced a series of divine revelations during a severe illness. Her account, recorded in Revelations of Divine Love, includes visions of Christ's suffering and a vivid sense of heaven's joy and peace. Julian's reflections on these experiences, particularly her famous declaration that all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well, continue to resonate with believers today, offering a message of hope and assurance in God's ultimate plan. These individual experiences and transformative encounters provide rich spiritual insights that deepen our understanding of heaven. They remind us that heaven is not just a distant, abstract concept, but a living reality that can be glimpsed and experienced in profound and personal ways. One of the key insights from these testimonies is the centrality of love in the heavenly realm. Whether described as an overwhelming sense of divine love, a reunion with loved ones, or an encounter with Christ, the common thread in these experiences is the transformative power of love. This aligns with the teachings of many spiritual traditions, which emphasize that the essence of heaven is found in perfect communion with God and with one another. Another important insight is the continuity between earthly life and the afterlife. Many testimonies highlight the idea that our actions, relationships, and spiritual growth in this life have eternal significance. This perspective encourages believers to live with a sense of purpose and to cultivate virtues such as compassion, forgiveness, and faith. Modern theological movements continue to explore and expand our understanding of heaven, often challenging traditional views and offering new perspectives. Progressive theology, in particular, seeks to reconcile ancient doctrines with contemporary insights, emphasizing inclusivity, justice, and the ongoing revelation of divine truth. One notable example is the work of theologian Jürgen Moltmann, whose Theology of Hope reimagines eschatology in light of God's promise of future renewal and liberation. Moltmann emphasizes that heaven is not merely an escape from this world, but the fulfillment of God's redemptive work within history. His vision of the new creation encompasses both personal salvation and the transformation of society, challenging believers to engage in acts of justice and reconciliation as foretaste of the heavenly kingdom. Similarly, feminist theologians like Elizabeth Johnson have critiqued traditional images of heaven that reinforce patriarchal structures. Johnson's work, including her book, She Who Is, calls for a more inclusive understanding of the divine and the afterlife, one that embraces the fullness of human experience and reflects God's boundless love and mercy. This perspective encourages a broader and more equitable vision of heaven, where all people are valued and affirmed. Contemporary debates often challenge traditional views of heaven, prompting believers to re-examine long-held assumptions and consider new interpretations. One area of debate is the concept of eternal punishment and the nature of hell. Theologians like Rob Bell, in his controversial book Love Wins, question the idea of a loving God condemning souls to eternal torment. Bell argues for a more hopeful and inclusive understanding of salvation, suggesting that God's love ultimately triumphs over judgment and that all people may eventually be reconciled to God. These debates also extend to the nature of resurrection and the afterlife. Theologians such as N.T. Wright have emphasized the physical resurrection and the renewal of creation, challenging more dualistic views that separate the soul's destiny from the physical world. Wright's work, including Surprised by Hope, calls for a reaffirmation of the bodily resurrection and the continuity between this life and the life to come. The future of discussions about heaven is likely to be shaped by ongoing theological reflection, scientific discoveries, and cultural shifts. As our understanding of the universe and the human person continues to evolve, so too will our visions of the afterlife. One emerging area of interest is the dialogue between theology and science, particularly in fields like cosmology and neuroscience. Scholars are exploring how scientific insights into the nature of consciousness, the universe, and the multiverse might inform and expand our understanding of heaven. This interdisciplinary approach holds the potential to bridge gaps between faith and reason, offering new and enriching perspectives on the afterlife. Moreover, the increasing globalization and interfaith dialogue will continue to influence theological thought. As different religious traditions engage with one another, new insights and commonalities may emerge, enriching our collective understanding of heaven and the ultimate destiny of humanity. The personal and spiritual reflections on heaven, coupled with contemporary theological debates, invite us to deepen our faith and broaden our understanding. These reflections challenge us to consider heaven not only as a future promise, but as a present reality that shapes our lives and actions. As we explore these diverse perspectives, we are encouraged to live with hope, compassion, and a sense of eternal significance, trusting in the boundless love and mercy of God. As we come to the close of our exploration, let us reflect on the journey we've undertaken. We began by delving into the biblical descriptions of heaven, uncovering the rich imagery and profound promises embedded in the scriptures. From the visionary language of Revelation to the comforting words of Jesus, these texts provide a foundation for our understanding of heaven as a place of eternal joy and divine communion. We then turned our attention to historical and theological perspectives, examining how early Christians and theologians throughout the ages have interpreted the nature and existence of heaven. Their writings and debates offer valuable insights into the evolving beliefs and doctrines that have shaped Christian thought. Our journey continued through the artistic representations of heaven during the medieval and Renaissance periods, revealing how these depictions reflect both theological insights and cultural values. We observed how art and scholarship intertwined to create vivid and inspiring visions of the heavenly realm. Next, we explored the concept of heaven in various world religions, comparing and contrasting these beliefs to uncover common themes and unique aspects. This comparative approach enriched our understanding, highlighting the universal human longing for transcendence and the divine. We also examined the influence of heaven on Western literature, observing how this concept has shaped and been shaped by cultural and societal changes. From classical works to contemporary interpretations, the idea of heaven continues to inspire and challenge writers and thinkers. In the theological perspectives and debates section, we grappled with complex questions about the nature of heaven, its characteristics, and its relationship to different religious traditions. These discussions underscored the richness and diversity of thought within the theological community. Finally, we considered controversial and counterintuitive views, examining misunderstood teachings, theological insights, and their impact on believers. These perspectives invited us to re-examine our assumptions and deepen our faith. The concept of heaven is not merely a theological abstraction. It is a profound and enduring aspect of the human experience. It speaks to our deepest hopes and fears, our aspirations for justice and peace, and our longing for a connection with the divine. As we have seen, the vision of heaven has evolved over time, influenced by cultural, historical, and theological factors. Yet at its core, it remains a powerful symbol of ultimate fulfillment and divine love. The significance of heaven lies not only in its promise of future glory, but also in its ability to shape our present lives. The values and principles associated with heaven, love, compassion, justice, and peace, are meant to guide our actions and interactions in this world. As we strive to live according to these ideals, we bring a touch of heaven to our earthly existence. I encourage you, dear viewers, to continue exploring these themes and deepening your understanding of heaven. Engage with the scriptures, reflect on the writings of theologians and mystics, and consider the diverse perspectives offered by different religious traditions. Let these insights inspire and challenge you, opening your heart and mind to the boundless possibilities of divine love and grace. As you contemplate the concept of heaven, may you find comfort in its promises, strength in its challenges, and inspiration in its vision. Let the hope of heaven guide you in your journey of faith, leading you to a deeper relationship with God and a more profound commitment to living out the values of the kingdom of heaven here and now. Prayer for heavenly understanding. As we conclude our time together, let us bow our heads in prayer, seeking divine wisdom and understanding for all who yearn to grasp the profound truths of heaven. O Lord of heaven and earth, we humbly thank you for the glorious promise of heaven and the radiant hope it instills within our souls. We beseech you to enlighten our minds to comprehend the vastness of your boundless love and the magnificence of your celestial design. Bestow upon us the wisdom to discern the eternal truths you have set before us, the fortitude to embody and uphold your sacred values in our daily lives, and the grace to extend your love to all those we encounter. As we traverse the pathways of this earthly existence, may our hearts remain steadfastly focused on the glorious promise of eternity in your presence. Grant us the strength to persevere and the inspiration to find joy in the vision of heaven, which awaits us. O Divine Creator, in moments of doubt and uncertainty, may the hope of heaven be our guiding light, a beacon that draws us ever closer to you. Let your eternal truths be the foundation upon which we build our lives, and may your love be the driving force that compels us to act with compassion and mercy towards others. We lift our voices in gratitude, acknowledging the privilege of being partakers of your divine plan. As we seek to understand the mysteries of your kingdom, may our hearts be filled with a deep sense of peace and assurance, knowing that your promises are true and your love is everlasting. In this moment of reflection and prayer, we ask for your divine guidance to illuminate our path. May we walk with confidence knowing that you are with us every step of the way, leading us towards the fulfillment of your heavenly promise. Amen. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the hidden truths about heaven. If you found this video enlightening, we invite you to subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking content. Don't forget to like this video and share it with others who might benefit from these insights. We also encourage you to leave your comments below. Share your thoughts, questions, and reflections on what you've learned. Your feedback and suggestions are valuable to us as we continue to create content that inspires and informs. Until next time, may the hope of heaven fill your heart with peace and joy. Thank you for watching, and God bless.